Hi, everybody. Today is Thursday, August 28th, 2025, and our friend Andrei Martyanov is back with us. Welcome back, Andrei.
My pleasure.
Let me start with what Keith Kellogg tweeted. He
Uh,
said last night Russia launched the second largest aerial attack of the war with 600 drones and 31 missiles. The targets, no soldiers and weapons, but residential areas. What has happened, Andre? Go ahead.
what happens? Kellogg is lying as always because he's the well, he's a liar. He is a low life. And American General is now a meme in Russia, and especially when you look at people like him. The guy should just simply fade into darkness because he is absolutely, again, he's useless. He's supporting the Nazi regime, and his daughter, obviously, and him are directly involved in the profiting from that. Some that means what he has no honor or integrity. But so whatever he says is useless, is garbage. I mean, it's pretty much anything, practically anything which comes out of the White House. So nothing. Russians just continue to kill the remnants of the armed forces of Ukraine and destroying the any kind of the military-industrial base which Ukraine still has left. So, and you can see yourself even. I'm going to be talking about it tomorrow. You can see yourself how, for example, things changed in terms of the industrial facilities, such as Turkish a very large plant producing those drones, Bayraktars and that type. It was completely demolished today. So, and yeah, that will continue. As for this Kellogg lies, I mean, he is himself war criminal. And so whenever he talks about some kind of the residential areas, he just lying. That's probably runs in the family, evidently. And so, yeah, what can I say? You cannot trust anything which comes out of those people who Trump surrounded himself with, and yeah, they're just doing PR. So, but yeah, Russia will continue to do what she's doing, and yeah, there never was any doubt. So, Kellogg, he should just retire. You know,
Is that a sign for Europeans, for Germans? They're talking about.
Russia doesn't send signs. Russia does the deed, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, if they can consider it as Russia is really is in have no regard to Europe anymore and doesn't want to deal with them pretty much, on any serious basis. So what can I say? They can see it as a sign if they want to, Yeah, Russia has military capability, and again, it's still special military operation. If it would have been war, I mean, you don't want to see the war, being persecuted by Russians. So
Andre, you mentioned that the Turkish Bayraktar plant was under construction in Ukraine. They wanted to build it to produce drones in Ukraine. And do you how do you see the way that Azerbaijan, Turkey, and the way that they're somehow playing in Ukraine? Why do they need to be in Ukraine? What is the game? Are they receiving somehow some sort of pressure from the West, from the United States? What? How can we understand the behavior?
well, Azerbaijan is directly involved in selling oil to both Ukraine, where it is being processed. Ukraine has the Kremenchuk, for example, processing plant or whatever and obviously it has ties to Israel, very substantial ones. And considering the fact that the diminishing oil fields of Azerbaijan, the Azerbaijan output was dropping rather dramatically, especially in the latest years. That's the only thing they have now. And the other thing they had was, of course, Azeri diaspora in Russia, which is demolished completely, especially the organized crime groups, which provided the control of many wholesale farmers markets and things of this nature. So Azerbaijan is not a large country. In terms of population, it's smaller than couple of boroughs of Moscow. So it's around 10 million. Plus, you have about 3.5 million. It depends. There's no real actual statistics on that as of lately. A million of Azeris living in Russia. Many of them are Russian citizens. They're decent people, hardworking. So. But yeah, that's about it. That's the only thing they have. And obviously, Aliyev's clan, money, capital, obviously was stored, as they thought, in London. But whenever you get your money into London and think that you own them, I have news for you: you don't. And so obviously they have London says, yeah, we can take it money from you, and you do this what we say. And yeah, that's what he was doing. Basically, he decided to break off relations with the only country which can actually guarantee survival of Azerbaijan as any kind of independent, country realistically. And then, of course, to the south they have Iran. And don't forget what happened with the helicopter of the, president. And now things, Russians already have been telling them, guys, we have drones flying from your territory, at us. Evidently, the message hasn't been received. So now it is being received. And of course, they are in economic bind right now. This is not to say that it's exclusively oil processing, and oil extraction, but it's very close to it. That is the main article, so to speak, a main factor in their budget. So what can I say? Things will get much worse for them. And again, Iran also has its own views on the relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia. But then again, you look at the Transcaucasia, it's like, oh, good Lord, man, that is a swamp, let me tell you. The culture is there is to gotcha, so that's the only. If Aliyev and Azerbaijan continue to do what they're trying to do, it's going to end up very bad for them. It's already bad for them. It's going to be very, very bad. And they are actually breaking all the historical ties to Russia. Now they say that, oh, yeah, in USSR we have been occupied. Okay, sure. Yeah, it was actually Russians who built together with Alfred Nobel, no less, so who built the whole, oil extraction and processing industry in Azerbaijan, and built the first European school of their oil engineers have been established in Baku by Russians. And, so it's like, okay, sure. If that's what Limitrovs do. And then again, Azerbaijan has its own historic destiny, but if they want to play the superpower of the area, it's not going to end good for them. So simple as that.
Andrei, it's not just Azerbaijan. I would argue Armenia. I don't know if you heard that the British are doing a strategic partnership with Armenia.
Yeah.
Who? What is that? How can you imagine the British, the United Kingdom, Armenia is nothing to do with United
Yeah,
Kingdom?
a lot to do. Don't forget. First, Armenia has been always a very separate issue, even during the Soviet times. They are not friendly country to Russia. Simple as that. And plus, their core national idea of the Armenia proper is diaspora. They are very proud of their diaspora in France, in United States, so. And yeah, Kim Kardashian, I'm sorry, she's Armenian. I don't know if they have to be proud of the whore, but obviously they are, But they had a very powerful diaspora obviously in France, for example. Greatest French chansonnier, Charles Aznavour, he was Armenian. Yuri Jarkaev of the national team of France, the footballer, Armenia. There are many Armenians in France. And so they think that their country, which really has practically no resources, nothing, if they are poor, they think that they're such a great people. Obviously, Armenian contribution as Armenians ethnically to Russian culture and especially Soviet time, immense. Look at Aram Ilyich Khachaturian, one of the geniuses of the classical music. Look at Mikhail and Gurevich, MiG fighters. The great people came out of it. Ivan Christoforovich Bagramyan, Marshal of the Soviet Union, one of the greatest military leaders of the century, So they contributed immensely. The problem is that these are Russian Armenians. There are many Russian Armenians. Granted, there are also issues there with the diaspora. But for some reason, Armenian proper, they love to think about themselves as people belonging to the, Western world. And, so French diaspora, American diaspora, especially California. Oh my God, there are many Armenians in California. And so they think that somehow this diaspora will help them. They don't understand that they are nothing. They're a small country, no resources, nothing. The only thing which is strategic about them is location. Okay, that's pretty much it. And even that is now being, so and Iran obviously has a very good relations with Armenia, but also it will not allow the Zangezur corridor to disappear, although, but judging by the dynamics of what is happening, Armenia itself can disappear. Pashinyan and those people, they wanted Pashinyan, they voted for them. That's not like somebody. The largest American embassy in the world, largest by far, is not in Moscow or in Beijing. It's in Yerevan. So they love to be considered, those favorite sons of America and France and all that. So, and as such, they will disappear, obviously, but they don't understand that, So, and they do not want to remember that this was Russian army which saved them from the complete annihilation. The first real Holocaust, not Jewish, but Armenian, by Turks, and Russians saved them, as they saved many Jews during World War II. But who remembers this now, right? It's all about who do we want to be with. So let them be with whatever they want, and they will disappear. They have an extremely bad demographics. So probably down the road, the most Armenian people will be surviving in Russia. Russia has a significant Armenian population. I mean, it's millions, but not very high millions, but in millions. Probably more Armenians live in Russia than they live in Armenia proper. So in this case, what can I say? I mean, just let them deal with each other. Russians don't care. They have military base at Gyumri, and which obviously Armenians don't like. Whatever, So what can I say? I mean, they voted for this. It's like people constantly in comments to all my videos and everything. Oh, we didn't want that. I didn't vote for Macron. Okay, you didn't. I understand. You are a good man or good woman, and that's fine. But majority of your population did. And I'm sorry, this is how we, live. I voted for Trump. I don't make any, basically, secret out of it. Guess what? I'm going to be living the consequences. Okay. So, but people do not understand. They never want to take the responsibility for the fate of the nation, or it's like, oh yeah, it's me. Okay, that's fine. But they voted for that. They voted for essentially what will end up in the physical elimination of Armenia as such.
What's amazing about both Iran and Russia, Andrei, which you mentioned, we have the Armenians in Iran. And they don't recognize as Armenians from Armenia. They're done Persian Armenians.
Yeah. So I know Armenians from Syria.
Yeah.
I know Armenians from Syria.
They're amazing people.
And Armenian diaspora in Moscow, which is large. There are a bunch of Armenian, very high. Well, one of them is Margarita Simonyan. She's stupid, but somehow she was put, we know how, in the charge of RT, for example. But they have very many prominent media figures, Armenian media figures. For example, chief of the Mosfilm is Armen Shakhnazarov. So there are many people of Armenian descent who are very high profile in Russia. But I can tell you one thing. I was talking to the Armenians from Aleppo and say, it was a few years back. I say, why don't you go to Russia then, when you understand what is happening, basically? And they said, Moscow Armenians don't want us there. What? I said, no, they don't. And these were wonderful people, educated, very, just beautiful people, So, and I've been talking about it. I was like, really? I mean, go, good Lord, live and learn. And don't forget, I have Armenians by joint family in my family. Even my name, Martyanov, very many people thought that I was Armenian for some reason, because if you take away Ov in the end of my, Martyan, so, you're Armenian. No, I'm Russian. I mean, always was. And Martyanov is a Russian name. But yes, and especially when you look attentively, Baku Armenians also are different. So in reality, there is, how to say it, it's difficult to even say, but really, the prominence Armenian as ethnicity, as a culture, received and contributed was in the Soviet Union, obviously. Tremendous contribution in the Russian and Soviet culture, technology, science, and things like that. So the rest of it, Shansonia, Charles Navur, great. We all love Charles Navur. Nobody argues. But was he ever in the same league as Mikoyan or Khachaturian? No. I mean, Khachaturian masterpieces of music and ballets, and so and you look at this like, okay, yeah, so yeah, they probably, many of them will migrate to Russia. The rest of them will be somehow absorbed, or whatever will be left of Armenia proper eventually, because Azerbaijan definitely has its expansionist plans. And Pashinyan, he is there. He's acting upon some instructions from some bizarre places, maybe London, maybe Paris, So, and what can I say? It's none of my business anyway.
Yeah. Andrei, do you think right now Russia, how much of what's going on in Ukraine in the mind of the Putin administration is going to happen if we assume, after all, they can reach something to put an end to the conflict the way that Russia wants? How is that going to happen? It's all about on the battlefield, or they consider that politically they can do something as well?
They cannot do anything politically, the West. It's all battlefield. And again, Russians are very clear in terms of their demands. Now, Trump, obviously being Trump, the man who doesn't know what he wants, how he wants, pulls out of his ass, pardon my French, this idea that, oh no, doesn't matter if Putin will have to meet Zelensky, who cares if he's not legitimate? Really? Somebody has to explain to Trump how international relations work. He's absolutely, ignorant of, he's ignorant pretty much on any issues related to geopolitics and international relations. But Russians will continue to drive until either Ukraine changes politically, but in the end, the political regime of Zelensky will be annihilated. It doesn't matter who wants what and how. The only thing which is combined West, Trump administration can produce a lot of hot air. There is, however, separate track, so to speak, in which Russians and Americans speak about issues related to economy and things of this nature, which will probably continue. But politically, it doesn't matter. You know what? It's all the same down to Al Capone truism. With the kind word and the gun, you can get much further than the kind word alone. If those people in Pentagon, CIA do not understand, they have to go back to the freaking middle school and start their education, which, by the way, is not, I'm not exaggerating, anew, and get something into their heads that there is such thing. It's called correlation of forces and means, COFM, and they don't have it. Their correlation is so, in favor of Russia, that no matter what they do, no matter how they do it, unless, of course, they want to go and escalate to the nuclear threshold, but then again, they will die. World War III happens, billions of people are dead. Even they don't want that. So if not, then just resign. Resign yourself to the, with this reality that you can do nothing. U.S. Army can do nothing. Pentagon cannot do anything. Europeans are nobodies, militarily and industrially anymore. They're chihuahuas. So, and this is how it will be, and this is how it is proceeding right now. The only thing they always could do, and this is strictly from Machiavelli, from Il Prince, for famous genius writing by Machiavelli, that the only thing they could do was to look like to create the impression, perception of something. Reality is they are incompetent, they are cowardly, many of them Europeans, especially cowards, their political elites. And Trump is also coward, actually. So, and they can continue to produce all those grandiose statements, but the more they produce them, the less they will have the effect on the public, and they cannot change it. So they can try. They tried many times, but we now know that 1.8 million killed on Ukrainian side, twice as much maimed, completely PTSD'd into the complete mental breakdown of nation, and Ukraine will cease to exist probably in as we used to know it. It already is not what it used to be. And so if that's their achievement, well, what I can congratulate. It is only in the United States and the combined West they say that military defeat is victory. This is the only thing they can do.
Andrei, when you look at the way that Donald Trump talking about sending weapons to Ukraine, I want to know what would be the reaction, what would be the thought, what would be the take of those people who watch these sort of videos, this sort of rhetoric on the part of the U.S. president. Here is what he said, Andrei.
They didn't pay the 2 and they paid the 5. So, and as you know, we are selling a tremendous amount of equipment to NATO. We're not spending any money, we're making money, but I don't want to talk about making. I want to talk about we're no longer involved with funding Ukraine, but we are involved with trying to stop the war and the killing in Ukraine. So we're selling missiles and military equipment, millions and millions, and ultimately billions of dollars to the NATO people, where I'm very friendly and we have a great relationship, but that was an amazing trip. So they're funding the entire war. We're not funding anything. I think it's an important point to make because a lot of people don't understand that.
Andrei, how these people, I know you're connected with many people in Russia, the people of reason, they understand what's going on. How do they feel when they see Donald Trump talking this way?
Nobody takes him seriously. You have to understand that. There is a lot of memes. There are people laughing out. But truth is, he made the point in this piece, which is very correct, of which I've warned for the last 10 years. Europe is lunch. Europe is American lunch. And he is correct. I always give the example of what United States does to Europe, which was supposed to, Europe will be further deindustrialized, and it will be the essentially nothing but a receptacle for their, American weapons, when America can produce them, which is the whole other story. But the point is, take, for example, Alvaro de Bazan, Spanish wharf, shipyard, famous. Spaniards, well, to a degree, obviously, justifiably, they are very proud of it. Look at our Alvaro de Bazan frigates. Okay, let's take a look. Well, guess what? Alvaro de Bazan, obviously, the hull itself is made in Spain. There are some European systems. But then you begin to look at what Alvaro de Bazan is. Okay, it carries the Aegis combat system with the Spy-1T radar. Raytheon, all right. It carries MK-41 vertical launch system. United States, General Electric. It has turbines by General Electric. Well, United States. Practically all electronics, including the, its sonar, and United States. So what's so Spanish about it? Nothing, with the exception of primarily hull. Everything they have there is basically produced by the United States. And apart from the fact that the United States itself cannot compete with Russia, it's just like it's not even fair in producing the appropriate amount of the, let's say, in terms of high precision and smart munitions and smart weapons. United States is not even in the same league with Russia. Russia outproduces combined NATO by order of magnitude, in these weapons. And they are the best weapons in the world. And so when you look at this, Trump in this case is correct. Yes, Europe needs to be deindustrialized. It has to be maintained to such a degree that they do not revolt, and of course those chihuahuas in political circles and political elites, so to speak, in Europe, they will suppress any kind of the public revolts. Not that Europeans are ready to revolt to start. They will take it, lying down, and that's what Europe always was. So, and what do you have? You have suddenly the ability to have the what? Sale of your American weapons to Europe, more and more. And that was the plan from the get-go, of which everybody knew since, I don't know, since 2000s, essentially. That Europe essentially will become the lunch of the United States. And of course, the United States will provide Europe with energy. That energy, including, by the way, Russian gas and all other things, reselling Europeans and American, obviously, liquefied natural gas, for example, for 3 times the price they were getting it from Russia. And yeah, Europe is done. It's over. So they will be allowed to exist. Well, not to the level of the Weimar Republic, albeit it's not excluded from the, from the future. It may happen too. But eventually, Europe will be squeezed for every single buck or euro they have until they are completely bankrupt, and then the United States will have to either disintegrate or change its ways. We'll see how Trump and whoever comes after him handle the situation of the economic catastrophe which is looming here in the United States. And simple as that. It has been predicted by so many people, so it's not even funny to talk about. So yeah, Europe is lunch. They have to resign themselves. They did it themselves. They wanted it. The only thing they do not understand that even if they for example, the story of F-35. Of course, F-35 is garbage, flying garbage. It's, good Lord, it's horrible. And United States used to produce very good combat airplanes, evidently not anymore. And
F-35 is the stealthy one, yeah?
Yeah, they call it stealth, yeah. So let's not go there. It's for the fanboys and people who never studied physics or whatever. So, but yeah, stealth. And so the issue here that some people like Spain, they say, no, we're not buying F-35. We're gonna go to the next iteration of Eurofighter. Eurofighter is a good plane, make no mistake. For 2000s, it was very good plane. It's not that good anymore, as we saw also the performance of Rafales, for example, French Rafales in this recent skirmish, let's put it this way, between India and Pakistan. So these are all obsolete weapon systems which are nearing obsolescence, especially when you put them into the framework of the European military, industrial, and scientific capabilities, which are extremely limited. And you have to operate the modern war, as it was shown by the special military operation. You have to have the whole infrastructure, the whole environment, which allows you to maintain the, informational and recon dominance, over the battlefield. Europe doesn't have capability to do this. Simple as that. And now, when they pay 3 times the price, which probably going to go even more up, can you imagine producing the next generation of Leopard tanks by Germans? It's going to worth its weight in gold, okay? So it's simple as that. Costs, you cannot cheat real economy. You can cheat in Wall Street, that means Ponzi scheme. You can defraud people, that's what they do there, That's what generally American economy and European economies have been built around, defrauding people in financial sense until we know what is happening. But the point is, here, you have to have military, industrial, and scientific capability to develop whatever you need to, for example, fight Russians or defend yourself from Russians. Most people there, they probably don't even, who knows though, they're so stupid. They really do believe maybe that Russians who never saw what a toilet is or microwave, Russians are backward people, that they go to outhouses, just wipe their ass with whatever stones or what have you, so, and electricity is, 4 hours a day. So they really think that Russians are sitting looking at Europe and admire their standard of living. So for average imbecile from European media and American media telling that Russians live better than Europe. Yeah, so and for them to understand that they cannot comprehend it, are not capable of doing this, which is the result of complete intellectual degeneracy which afflicted the West, including the United States, in the last 35 years. Simple as that. And today we have this bunch of clowns running, but America is a bigger clown in this case, okay? And with the, baseball bat. So it's already basically made sure that those bunch of the clowns are next to its, leg, in rank and file, and do what United States tells them to do. So, and that's happening. Look, let them die. What can I say?
I don't know how the United States can save itself from the military industrial complex, because after all, even though you have someone who's trying to change the foreign policy, he's not going to be able to do it, Andrei. Donald Trump, before being elected, he was talking about these things. Nowadays, you don't see, he's totally the opposite way, 180 degrees different from what we've seen before the election. And here is what Lutnick said. I think it's huge to understand what's going on in the United States in terms of foreign policy and who's behind that.
Defense companies, though, Secretary, why shouldn't the U.S. government say, you know what, we use Palantir services, we would like a piece of Palantir. We use Boeing services, we would like a piece of Boeing. There are a lot of businesses that do business with the U.S. government that benefit by doing business with the U.S. government. I guess the question is, where's the line?
Oh, there's a monstrous discussion about defense. I mean, Lockheed Martin makes 97% of their revenue from the U.S. government. They are basically an arm of the U.S. government. They make exquisite munitions. I mean, amazing things that can knock a missile out of the air when it's coming towards you. But what's the economics of that? I'm going to leave that to my Secretary of Defense and the Deputy Secretary of Defense. These guys are on it, and they're thinking about it.
Oh my God, the guy is impressed by the fact that air defense systems can knock out the missile out of the air. Well, that tells you actually everything you need to know. It's classic ill brains by Machiavelli. Classic. At some point of time, the incompetence, corruption reach such level, and they propagate down. They not trickle down. This is essentially the stream. They're pouring down. They're all over the place. That you lose people who. It's not just military-industrial complex. Obviously, when the only real thing of value he stated was, Lockheed is essentially, all those military-industrial complex companies are dependent on the government contracts. The same as it is the case in Russia. The problem is, contracts by itself do not give you actually the real control of the companies, unlike it is, for example, in Russia. And again, United States is not designed for war. This nation, the United States, doesn't know what war is, period. Take any American soldier or officer, go into any military academy in the United States and ask the question, how many of your relatives died defending Boston from those damn Manstein, armor panzer columns? How many times the United States have been bombed? Where did you see? How many relatives did you lose to rape, killing, murdering, taking slaves, how many of your properties have been burned down as the result of the strikes? None of them have any clue. None. There's not a single American serviceman who understands and can grasp it. Now, go lower, run lower. You have the whole population, which is brought up quoting General Latif. Everything, the political class in the United States, including CEOs, actually, of all those Lockheed and Boeings and everything, know about war. They know from the entertainment. They know from Hollywood only. We are looking at the complete imbecilization of the society. So now throw in corruption of the military-industrial complex, because the United States produces crappy weapons which do not work. It is all about making profit. They are not designed to fight real war, period. None of them. And with the exception of some weapon systems in the US Navy, but even that is now obsolete. And so what do you have? You have also AIPAC, which corrupted pretty much all its controls. Israel controls US government, period. Israel controls Trump. Israel controls his administration. Congress, U.S. Congress, is completely controlled, with the exception of people such as Marjorie Taylor Greene or Massey, and other people of this caliber. It's completely in the pockets of Israel. And so what do you expect? United States lost its sovereignty. The reason it lost its sovereignty because it never had been subjected to real war. Anybody, any professor of the military history in any, command staff and command general staff and command college in Lebanon or Kansas, they have no clue what they're talking about. Any of those generals, they never experienced anything like this. They simply have no reference point. As the result, this one of those impediments to the incompetence and corruption have been completely removed historically from the United States. And as a result, it is the environment which allows you to what? Corrupt, profit, degenerate things. And yeah, you don't have to produce anything which works. Why? We saw. Did you see the American so-called Israeli, which is still American air defense? Iran absolutely, wiped the floor with Israel, and this is Iran. Its missiles were very, impressive for their country, which constantly is under the sanctions. They are nowhere near, for example, what Russia can launch at you, and that's the problem. They still do not understand. They have been convinced because of their low cultural and educational level that they're so great that they come into people who look at them as the children. I already stated. Take Petraeus. He will be laughed out of the morning briefing of some of the combined arms brigade in Russia as the incompetent nincompoop, which he is, by the way. And so goes to any American general. We saw how this Donahue and Aguta and all those, people planned counteroffensive in 2003. It was done by amateurs. Those people have no clue what they're doing. They graduated all those war colleges and everything. They have no clue about warfare. They literally do not understand how strategy is developed. And when you begin to look at this gaping abyss of the incompetence and corruption, what do you expect? And that's the result. And that's what we have to do with Trump. And it's all about how BS public. Because the only thing they know how to do is how to get elected and stay elected. For that, they will lie, they will cheat, they will steal, they will sell their families, they will do anything. So, and then, of course, now we have the pedophile central issue, basically hanging over our head. And when you look at it, the practically United States has not only lost its sovereignty, it's actually becoming utterly ungovernable country. The only reason what everything survives in terms of the statehood and governance is most of the time on the local level. On the level of the sometimes states, sometimes counties, sometimes even just towns and cities. But if you take a look attentively what is happening, look at California. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But it's not even United States anymore. People who live there, many of them, they are just not normal people. We're looking at the complete mental breakdown happening in the United States. Europe is already mentally completely dead. They are actually the exhibit A, which you need to put into asylum, especially when, their general population. They are not normal people. They cannot comprehend it. They only perceive things. They cannot see the fact. They cannot understand the world outside. And as a result, they are completely gullible to, whip European up into some military frenzy and hatred. Easy peasy.
Andrei, you compare the military-industrial complex in Russia and the United States. I think there is a difference between the differences are so much bold, in my opinion, between the two, because they don't have the military-industrial complex in Russia. They don't have anything to do with the foreign policy of Russia. The state, the government, the administration decides about the foreign policy and domestic policy. But in the United States, they're deciding about domestic policy and the foreign policy of the United States. They're in charge of the foreign policy of the United States.
Yeah, they have no integrity. They have no honor, no person who works there. The only thing they know is bottom line and profit, period. And again, there is not a single CEO of any kind of Lockheed or Raytheon who even have a grasp of the real war. That is why American weapons suck. Look at this, as I already stated. They suck. They are continuing to produce junk, which is from 1990s. And you cannot change this. And again, listen, you can have the guys who, first, let's recall what has been done to Boeing, okay? Let's recall how we all ended up with this, one of the greatest, American, and not only global, airspace giants, legendary commercial planes. I love 747, 408, and I love 777. They're the wonderful airplanes, beautifully designed, How did we end up with killing 385 people with the 737 MAX? You remember what Boeing employees were saying? That's it. It's not about producing proper product. In terms of weapons, not a single CEO of Lockheed or Raytheon or Boeing have any clue what war is. They don't, as I already stated. America is the only superpower in the world which is utterly ignorant about war because it never experienced one. And those clowns who always come here and say, oh, but look what the Civil War. Yeah, Civil War was called Civil War for a reason, and it was pretty much, more than, 160 years back. No, more than that. Yeah, about that. So, and yeah, they're Civil Wars. It pales comparison to Russian Civil War of 1922. It's like not even in the same league. People do not understand. They think that, oh my God, that their scale, I don't know, the scale of things. Oh my God, Gettysburg, for 3 days, 20,000 casualties. Try 8 hours and kill almost 100,000 people in Borodino in 1812. How about that? Have you seen anything like that? No. They just have no capability to grasp it and to understand that any moment in the real war, your child, your wife, your relative, mother, father could be killed with something flying in, that they could be executed, put against the wall and exit. They have no clue. The only thing they know is Holocaust, that because Hollywood, that's what Hollywood never produced really good military movies. The Russians love it, Saving Private Ryan and all those things, So, and that's how you can explain this to people. You can't. You have to have the cultural environment. And eventually, this problem begins to kill, which is already happening, everything which was always great about America. American technological genius, industrial, entrepreneurial spirit, things which made America great. But now you have this bunch of the morons from Raytheon and Pentagon and who tell, no, we are great because we are great military. No, you're not. You never won the war since 1950. So, and we saw what happened to the U.S. Navy, what Houthis made the U.S. Navy to do. Houthis, crying out loud, people who are completely dependent on the ancient technology, okay? But they don't teach that in those academies. They don't. They really don't. And as a result, you see yourself, and they continue to produce that, which doesn't work. Patriot Pack 3 is a joke, and I mean literally joke. And look at the Abrams tanks, look at all those things, and they say, oh yeah, we are good, U.S. Air Force. With what? Flying the legacy airplanes, good ones. I make no mistake. F-15 was a great aircraft at some point of time. F-16 is one of the sexiest toys ever produced. Beautiful aircraft, but totally obsolete. What do they have? F-22s? Russians fly against F-22s in Syria, and not very impressed, honestly. And all this stealth obviously is complete baloney, sold to fanboys. And so, how do you go about this? Well, you have to continue to produce this junk and sell it to Europeans. You have to produce this constant, but that's what's the fundamental, how to say it, almost archetypal significance of the special military operation. Together with what has been done by Israel in genocide in Gaza, which completely, the Holocaust card has been declined, period. They cannot go now and say anything about Holocaust because they will be laughed at or actually scorned for what they're doing to basically Palestinians. The same happened here. All this mythology, very accurately constructed by the media or bunch of the nincompoops who know only how to sell these impressions, have been completely blown out of the water by the special military operation. And what we have? NATO is a paper tiger. The United States cannot do anything in terms of, they cannot even properly, plan operations. And suddenly, when these realities have been revealed, can you imagine? That is why we have BRICS. That is why India told the United States to pound sand. China don't even go there. They do not even care anymore, So Brazil, yeah, because everybody saw, oh my God, single Russia stood up against the combined West and won. And won, it's not only some kind of the bizarre things. It won by the extremely advanced technology and extremely advanced military science and things like that. And now everybody says, oh yeah, Russians won. Yeah, I told you, you should have asked me. I was telling about this from 2014. They just didn't listen because they don't have class. Most of the American political class doesn't have class. They're highly uncultured people. They never read any serious book in their life. Then ask them who Svechin is. They don't know. So go to State Department, ask them what do they read. Everything they go in through the education, it's brainwashing, it's indoctrination. It's not education, really. So and that's the result. This is everything as in Prince, as Machiavelli predicted. We finally got overwhelmed by this blob of the nincompoops, corrupt, people, war criminals, all kinds of pedophiles, So, and yes, at some point of time, the density of this material, so to speak, on the top especially, became so huge that now the system simply is unworkable. And we are seeing the results.
Andrei, you mentioned India. We know that the Trump administration imposed 50% tariffs on India. As you mentioned, they're somehow not only ignoring what's going on between considering the tariffs. We know that Russian oil exports to India are set to rise 10 to 20% in September.
Yeah. You cannot explain to Trump, whose life is built around slogans and cheating other people in real estate and being showman, what national pride is. He doesn't understand. You see, what? Waving American flag, hugging it and saying we are the greatest has nothing to do with the national pride. It is actually the exhibition of the complex of inferiority, which it is there. But so you have this guy who is nothing more than showman and real estate shyster from New York, going to the civilization which is several thousand years old and telling them what they can and cannot do. It's like, dude, yes, India has a lot of problems. Okay, we know what those problems are. But their elites are not stupid. In fact, if you look at their Brahmin elites, okay, they're freaking good. They're well educated. And if anybody thinks that most Indians want to go and sell their country out, no, I have a bridge to sell them. And Mr. Modi, he is a nationalist, So telling this to this guy, the country of 1.5 billion people, and with a growing economy, of course, they still have a long way to go before they become a real superpower. But you have to be a complete idiot to do that. It's just you just don't do that. And so it's the same. But again, class does not exist in American politics. In Washington, D.C., they don't know what it is. None. Across the board, from, Langley through, the bunch of the people who have been completely indoctrinated, new generation. And you have Trump, yes, the guy doesn't understand what he is dealing with. And what can I say? That's the way he is. And as a result, India told the United States to go pound sand. And of course, we have now, we have 80s coming in Beijing on the 3rd of September. And by the way, Russians have a total legitimate presence there because obviously it was the Red Army which demolished Kwantung Army in. So the question is, that will be bricks on parade, okay?
Yeah.
And that makes United States look like the backwater, okay? Forget about Europe. Nobody seriously talks about Europe anymore. So, and yeah, Mr. Trump, yeah. How about he organized another military parade in Washington, D.C., as if he didn't humiliate U.S. Army enough already, you know? So, and that's what is happening. And it's completely new world. It's not about like, yeah, and there is nothing more than pathetic and disgusting, stinky, you know, human trash than American media. They're just war criminals. I mean, establishment media, obviously, I'm talking about. So, and yeah, they will be spinning whatever they can spin, but their boomer, the most vile, the most degenerate generation of the Americans, baby boomers, have to leave the stage very soon. And we have the new crop of people coming in. And especially, well, yeah, Zoomers, that's another thing, but millennials, all those people who have been denied those benefits of America's post-World War II development, and they are looking now at the country with the rising crime, economic desperation, homelessness. It's just, borders are completely open, you know, no matter how Trump tries to do it. And again, he mostly talks, very little practical outcome. That will be a different country in 10 years, United States. And who knows what kind of the politicians, the new generation who comes to legislature, to Congress, and maybe many of them will be already free from the IPAC corruption, and you know, many of them are actually anti-Israeli very much. So we'll see. It's difficult to predict now, but America is a pretty complex country, no doubt about it. But Europe is done; it's over. It's well-known fact.
Andrei, here is what the White House trade advisor Peter Navarro said about India.
Talks with India right now. Is there a potential for a deal to change that number?
Look, it's real easy. India can get 25% off tomorrow if it stops buying Russian oil and helping to feed the war machine.
Not sending that signal.
They're not. And look, here's the thing. I'm puzzled, okay? Because Modi's a great leader. These people this is a mature democracy with intelligent people running it. And they look us bald-faced in the eye on the tariff part and say, we don't have the highest tariffs in the world, when in fact they do. There's no dispute about that if you look at the numbers. And then they say, oh, we're not going to stop buying Russian oil. Now, what does that mean? I mean, we've talked about this, but it's worth talking to your viewers again. When India buys Russian oil at a discount, and then Indian refiners in partnership in India with Russian refiners make that and sell it at a premium to the rest of the world, right? Russia uses the money it gets to fund its war machine, kill more Ukrainians. And then the next thing that happens, of course, is Ukraine comes to us and Europe and says, give us some more money. So everybody in America loses because of what India is doing. The consumers and businesses and everything lose, and workers lose because India's high tariffs cost us jobs and factories and income and higher wages. And then the taxpayers lose because we got to fund Modi's war, okay? The road to peace runs at least partly right through New Delhi. I mean Modi's war.
Let me ask
because the road to peace runs in part through New Delhi.
Yeah, it's Modi's. Andrei, it's unbelievable, the ignorance.
The guy is a complete idiot, which you have to understand. Average product from Harvard is, as I already stated, it's highly uncultured, brainwashed, moron, basically. Most, not all, make no mistake. But Navarro is a complete idiot. He doesn't understand anything about war. He doesn't understand anything about a real economy. He doesn't understand, obviously, about Russia, and none at all, because United States doesn't have Russia experts. No, they don't. They don't have them in CIA. They don't have them in NSA. They don't have them in the National Security Council. They don't have them anywhere. What they have is a bunch of the Lipschitz, as they called in Russia, you know what, people who settle accounts with Russia, saying to into ears of the such morons like Navarro what they want to hear. And they live in the alternative universe, not understanding, for example, that actually oil and gas constitute only 17% of Russian budget. And it is completely, but again, you cannot explain to a moron from some Wall Street or who never run anything more than, I don't know, 7-Eleven, how it all works. They don't know. Mr. Michael Hudson brilliantly explained it, and he wrote so many wonderful books that he said, what they teach as the economics there has nothing to do with economy. It's some kind of mishmash. First, economics is not a science. Many people do not understand that Nobel Prize in economics is not Nobel Prize. It has nothing to do with Nobel Committee. They invented this garbage to give more of those cretins from Chicago School of Economics or whatever and you know, in reality, it's the prize named after Alfred Nobel, which not even awarded by the Nobel Committee. But they sell this BS to, you know, ignoramuses who say, oh, it's Nobel Prize in economics. No, it is not. There's no such thing as Nobel Prize in economics. So, but the point is, you have these cretins who write some abstract white theory. They do not understand how real economy works. And most of all, they do not understand what war is. And war is the father of all, as they say, which is correct. They do not understand. And again, Navarro took anybody from State Department, uncultured hacks, that's who they are. The Russians are laughing at the American diplomacy. The United States doesn't have diplomats in the classical sense. The diplomacy as a craft completely is dead. Just a second. So, in this particular case, what can I say? It's, well, it's bad. It's really bad. And when nation loses expert and experience, and again, humanities education in the United States is a joke. Okay, you have their sole degrees in nothing, and they don't know what to do. And they consider, some people, for some reason, they consider that, oh yeah, Navarro comes out and explains war machine. He wouldn't be able to explain what war machine is. I know what war machine is. I am the product of it. But he wouldn't understand. He has no toolkit, because what they taught him, his experiences are irrelevant to the real life. The experiences of those people are primarily golf and yacht clubs of the East, in probably West Coast. That's it. Maybe fine scotch, and that's about it. This is the only thing they have, you know. So, and as the result, what can I say? It's bad. It's bad. And we are probably going to full-blown idiocracy. Wonderful movie. Who would ever thought that it would be a documentary? And so we have the idiots, literally, in the all positions of power and influence.
Andrei, what's so funny about the concept of these people is that they want India to sacrifice its security, its economy for the sake of a proxy war in Ukraine, which doesn't have anything to do with India.
Those people, they do not have the concept of honor, integrity, national loyalty. They do not. The practically 15% of the population of the United States, 57 million, they say, you know, Christian Zionists, they don't have loyalty to the United States. They have loyalty to Israel. And whatever the hell comes after in their perverted minds from the Scofield Bible in their hell or heaven. So they are fine, for example, with genocide of Palestinians. Not only they are fine, they are applauding it, you know. So, and that's what is happening here. And we're talking about that again. Do you want to ask Mr. Navarro what integrity is? He has no concept of it. They don't have this concept. They are living in the alternative moral, scientific, whatever, industrial universe, which is all wishful thinking. I called it echo chamber. They continually reinforce their delusions. And that is why, for example, I already stated, I'm not exaggerating. This is not a hyperbole. This is not a figure of speech. Get Kellogg or Keane or Petraeus or Donahue. into the morning briefing of the Russian, for example, combined arms brigade in the morning, where the staff gathers, and they will be laughed, at. They will be thrown out as the people who are absolutely professionally incompetent to even discuss the issues which pertain there. They don't have mathematical background. They don't have engineering background. And believe me, I know people who command more than just brigades, and I know who they are, and I know what kind of education, what kind of the training they went to. So it's so beyond the American experiences that I cannot emphasize this enough, So, and as a result, they are hurting. They're coming up with all kinds of the desperate BS and talking to India like that, dude, go get yourself education, culture classes, not cultural sensitivity BS. No. Go study the history of India. Go study, by the way, their military history. These are pretty warring nation, actually, Indians. And they had their wars, some of them they lost, others they just demolished forces of Pakistan when it came down to it. So, yeah, how about he goes and reads about this? He will not. He has the briefers who are cretins, 25, 26-year-old cretins from Harvard and other Ivy League degree mills who don't know, pardon me, crap about anything. And this is how American foreign policy is formed. And as I already stated, massive, wholesale ignorance. This is the definition of the American governance at this age of 2025. Simple as that. The country completely degenerated from the, you may disagree with me, but the last true statesman with the excellent team for the most part, and especially foreign policy team, and especially diplomat, which was run by James Baker, was, of course, Bush Sr. Okay, he was the guy who, and again, but when you look at those people, what was the definition of what was the common feature of those people? Oh, I can tell you, they all went through the World War II either as their, either adults or young men, and even if they didn't fight, but some fought like Bush Sr., and they were veterans. They understood the price and the cost of the peace. Of course, they're acting in favor of the United States. And of course, they were acting in favor of the military-industrial complex. But these were competent people. James Baker is one of the best diplomats United States ever had. Together with, obviously, esteemed Jack Matlock, the best ambassador. Joseph Byerly, though, was the other one. So after that, nothing. Barren land of the imbeciles. Look at Michael McFaul. The guy is a certified cretin, actually. And he teaches in Stanford, which is for some reason, they don't teach. They indoctrinate. They know nothing. McFaul knows absolutely nothing about it. And he was laughed at by Russians already when he was an ambassador. This is the level.
Yeah. Totally ideological.
Totally ideological. No competences, no expertise in anything, including war. And again, listen, I already stated, at some point of time, about half a year ago, I said that, you know what, I dropped my pretense of the corporate solidarity with the U.S. military, which, of course, I was. United States Army and especially Navy, they have the history which should be respected and everything. But modern, whatever they have today, it's just pathetic. The military education in the United States, let alone Europe, is a joke. It's a joke. They do not prepare a real professional. They prepare those generalists who, you know what, they learn a couple of things, how to do on the ground or in the sea. And for some reason, they believe that they are so good. They're not. And just to give you an example, again, I repeat this example. Who are air defense officers in U.S. Armed Forces? They don't have professional air defense officers in the U.S. forces because they don't have service academies which prepare them. Like it is in Russia, for example. You go to Yaroslavl Air Defense Military Academy, Command Academy. They get graduate degree in military engineering, and they get degree in military science. 5 years, 6 days a week. And just guess what? Apart from obvious common general military things, it's all about air defense complexes, how to design them, how to operate them, how mathematics and tactics and operations, So how do you think? Do you know who one of them is very famous around the world? Mr. Konashenkov, Lieutenant General Konashenkov, who is well, he has actually a master's degree, and now he has PhD actually, but he is the air defense officer. He is the press secretary of the Russian Defense Ministry. He is the guy who gives the daily briefings. So, and can you imagine him talking to some dude who said, "Oh yeah, you know what, Patriot Pack 3, dude, yeah, evaporate S-500s, and it's not, it doesn't even register anything." So simple as that.
Thank you so much, Andrei, for being with us today. Great pleasure, as always.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Back to you. Bye-bye.